down here, but I am.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the same way we ended last year, and we're ending it this year. The Texas Longhorns and still the college softball national champions. Welcome to this edition of Inner Circle Live at the Dark. I am Victor Anderson. Over to my far right is Eric Lopez. And in the middle, the man who got the call to see Texas in action in Oklahoma City, the voice of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Mr. Nate Rohr. Nate, we were kind of talking before we went on the air. We were stunned at how easily Texas took care of business tonight against Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's a real surprise. I mean, you look at it, and, you know, Texas throws their second pitcher in Citlali Gutierrez, and she was fairly effective for a while. And you know, Tech got a great pitching performance for the first 4 innings out of Naishari Kennedy. The game really set up kind of how they wanted it to. And then the Longhorns got a little crack, a couple of mistakes by Tech in the 5th inning. That opened the door, and it seemed from there Texas Tech melted down, and Texas took advantage of the brief opportunity that they had, and Texas Tech didn't. And that 5th inning was really the difference in the game both ways. I was surprised with how it was managed, really surprised with how Texas administered it, if I'm being honest. But it worked out for them. And now they raise the championship trophy for the second straight year.
First team to go back-to-back 9-8 in Oklahoma since Florida did it in 2014, 2015. Second first program since Florida to have the first 2 national championships be back-to-back. Plenty to talk about tonight. We're going to break down all the moves that worked and didn't work. We're going to try and jump on the press conferences of both Texas Tech and Texas. It is just a remarkable night. Eric Lopez, when we talked about this on a D1 Champ Series preview, what did we say before the end of the show? We would be stunned if this did not go 3. Well, here we are on Thursday night, and we're not talking softball in terms of collegiately anymore this year.
Well, there's a lot of people going after you on social media called Longhorn fans, Vic. They want your head. They want my head. Now, in fairness, I had picked Texas before the season.
Wait. Hey, Eric, This you?
Yeah, because you told me I picked Texas Tech before the season, so I thought I stuck with it. Turns out I did. I picked Texas.
You?
Doesn't matter. I'm okay with it. What's wild is, Nate, your Nebraska team was 6 outs away from eliminating Texas. That's how crazy this sport is. You were 6 outs away with Jordy Fromm, no hitting Texas. We would have a complete – who knows what the picture would be like, Nate? So I'm curious your thoughts, because you saw Texas there in that elimination game and you had them on the brink.
Yeah, it was an offense that maybe didn't strike you as the deepest. The pitching staff showed up. They only allowed Nebraska 1 run. But remember, not only was Nebraska 6 outs away from winning that game, Jordy Fromm was 5 outs away from no hitting Texas. And yet, they get a slapper's single through the left side and then a solid single up the gut. And then Stewart did what she did. I think Texas deserves a lot of credit for taking advantage of those blinks, those glimmers, those little cracks when they got them. And, that's the mark of a championship team is when you're not going to get many opportunities in the Women's College World Series. Doesn't matter if you're a wrecking crew or a meager offense or whatever. And Texas, when they got their glimmers, when they got their little blinks, they rushed through. And I mean, the 2 runs in the 5th inning, they kind of got given them, but they just hung in there, and Tech made a big mistake with the throwing error, short to third. I don't know if she gets the out at third, even if the throw's on target. But the point is the throw was rushed. And so it just lends a little stronger idea to the fact that was a pretty good Nebraska team out there, and they weren't that far from being there today.
No, that's my point, and that's what makes this Texas team, I think, so special, is a team that plays with their backs against the wall. They find a way. They were outs away from losing the Super Regional to Arizona State, and then they get the pinch hit 2-run home run. They come out of the losers bracket to win the national championship. By the way, I've been to 2 World Series. Both times, the team that's lost the first game and come out of the losers bracket has won the national title. In 2018, it was FSU. Now Texas. So I guess if I'm showing up to Oklahoma City, just lose on the first day.
I will say, Eric, that would be 3 out of 4 since my last appearance, 2021. Oklahoma lost their opener and had to battle their way out of the losers bracket.
So then the circle is in the building. Look out. It's good news for losers bracket. But it's so wild. Texas again, and it's finding ways to win. And you're right, Nate. And I thought Leah Nelson we had on last night, and again, it was true today. Putting the ball in play. With all this talk of all these record-breaking offenses and the power game, the sport sometimes comes down to as simple as putting the ball in play and putting the pressure on the defense to make plays. And I thought Texas's short game was the difference in this series. I thought Texas Tech's defense was a disaster, quite frankly, Nate. I don't know if you have any explanation or thoughts on that, but to me, it seemed like Texas rose to the occasion. Texas Tech rose down to the occasion.
Well, you think about a championship team and championship experience, and you guys can check me on this if I sound crazy, but it felt like Texas was just kind of playing with its food all year. You know, and you'd see a dumb loss, or Arkansas is a good team, but a national, Texas losing 2 of 3 to Arkansas. You went, what? What happened there? But Texas, and this phenomenon occurs with championship teams that bring back their cores, where that second time through, they know the money's on the line in the championship, so it's almost like they do just enough to get by, and then once you get to the championship series, okay, pedal to the metal. But Eric, I agree wholeheartedly. You look at Tech's shortstop, Haley Toney, and I don't want to bag on her too much, but between the bad throw to third and then the pop up down the line, the foul ball that fell in, this is not her highlight tape. And big games required big plays by big players. There were a couple of outs to be had there that in these critical championship games, your shortstop has to get you. And Tech's shortstop did not.
Wasn't just her, though. There was others that didn't
absolutely.
make plays. And listen, I like the staff at Tech. I've gotten along with them, but I thought Texas's staff, they were outcoached them. We didn't have you on last night. Well, I mean, your reaction, I still don't understand how Nyjah didn't start the game last night, let alone you basically punted on the game by scratching her out. And I get it. Well, we weren't going to score on Kavan. That's a weird message to send to your team.
Sure.
And it was almost like, oh, we'll be fine. We'll have her ready for tomorrow. Yeah, that's great. She pitched well. But the problem is, so did Satali Gutierrez.
Yeah.
And she was fantastic. And she deserves a lot of credit here because she gave her team the chance to win until Texas made the plays they needed to make.
I was more baffled by them not bringing Terry in the 5th inning. And maybe that was the thought of, look, we didn't use Nyjah yesterday. We're going to ride her today, hell or high water. If we win with her, win or lose, we're going down with Nyjah. And you could sense that Texas was starting to pick her up. And you could sense that was getting away. And also they had Texas had a bunch of left-hand hitters due to hit in that 5th inning. I think they had 4 in a row. And they sent Terry down. And I would be very interested, and maybe we'll hear this in the post-game press conferences, the decision to stick with Kennedy against Terry, especially when Jerry Glasgow had shown a real willingness to flip back and forth, because there was nothing stopping you from pitching Terry to those left-hand hitters. Mm-hmm. And then either you bring Kennedy back into the circle or you ride Terry, but either way, it would have been fine. But that game got away from Kennedy. It got away from Texas Tech. The offense was quiet, and it's really surprising to me that they weren't able to do more than one run against essentially Texas's 2 and 3 pitchers for 5 innings. Yes, Kavan threw the 6th and the 7th, but Texas's 2 and 3, they got 1 run.
100%. That's the part I'm the most shocked about. Was they controlled this Texas Tech offense completely. And you make a great point about the switching with Terry. If you've been doing it, you're going to use her against lefties. Turns out Caitlin Terry wasn't a factor. Now, Jerry Glasgow said in the presser after game 1, and he was Jerry's very open, honest to a fault. And he admitted he has a harder time pulling Nyjah from a game than bringing her in relief. And I wonder if that was in his head about, man, am I going to pull her here in this must-win season with everything on the line? Yeah. I think that got to his head a little bit. And I understand that. I get that. Like, it's your best pitcher. You're going to go down with your sword. My issue is you wouldn't just throw her in game 1. Why did you not start her in game 1 and use Terry in game 2? You know they're not going to throw Kavan in game 2. And right. On paper, you're going to have the edge. And it's kind of a mixed message because he said that Terry threw great in game 1 and that she wasn't the problem. It was behind her, but yet you don't use her again. So they were all over the place with it. And I just think there was a lot of unsure hesitance. And that's what happens, guys. When you make all these moves sometimes you kind of now you leave yourself to second guessing yourself and trying to do too much. Whereas sometimes just do the simple thing. And I think Mike White did the simple thing. I'm going to ride my ace in game 1. I'm going to go with my veteran in game 2. Now, I know you both did not like. I'm going to defer to both of you now because you both have a lot of thoughts in the 5th. Vic was screaming at me in the 5th inning. So I'm going to defer to Vic on this, but I know the Hannah Wells, if the score is different, you guys maybe are going after Mike White for what? The Hannah Wells getting in there?
Yes. I don't understand. Gutierrez, and again, it's a similar situation we saw with Glasgow with Caitlin Terry against UCLA, where she was rolling along. She makes one mistake, and then you pull her. Gutierrez was pitching well through the first 4 innings. He gets pulled. Wells comes in, has some control issues, and you have to put Gutierrez back in the ball game. If it was me, I'd let Gutierrez. Here's the other thing. He kept Gutierrez in for 6 2/3 against Tennessee on Monday to set up Kavan to get the save, to put them to the if necessary game to get them to the champ series. So why Mike White deviated from that tonight, I have no idea. Again, Eric, what you talking about? Coaches overthinking simple situations.
Well, let me throw this at. I don't disagree with anything you've said there, but let me counter here to both of you. See your thoughts on this. I think Mike White's plan was to go by committee. I think he had Gutierrez throwing a certain amount. I think he was going to throw Hannah Wells, probably some matchups. And then if they were tied or had the lead, I think he was going to close with Kavan. If you remember, that's what Oklahoma did to him in 2024. They went by committee. And sometimes I think you predetermine this stuff and not realize, well, maybe I should just deviate from that and keep Gutierrez in there. Now, to his credit, they brought Gutierrez back in quickly.
Yeah.
So let's give him credit for that. But I do agree with you, Vic. I would have kept Gutierrez in. But I think that's what's going on here, guys. Nate, I feel like we're going into more baseball, like, hey, let's predetermine what we're going to do and pitch counts. And I think we're getting away from what the sport still is.
Yeah, I think teams are much more interested in using the rest of their pitching staff. I also think we're in a time in our game where that second time through the order versus the third time through the order, those numbers are working in coaches' heads right now. And the fact of the matter is we just don't have those hammer of God sort of pitchers in our game, at least in the numbers that we're used to, to where you're having to get by with a lesser pitcher and you're going, okay, two times through the order, she can get them out. That third time through the order is a real crapshoot. I've got a better chance with my second, my third, whatever the case may be. And so we are certainly moving toward a more baseball model. You're exactly right. What's interesting in softball is in baseball, you can, you pitch your 7th, 8th, 9th best pitcher in a weekend series. Softball, you're maybe going 3 deep. You're ping-ponging between 3 really good pitchers. And so that might be the one way we counteract the trend by offense over, especially this season. It really, really felt like an inflection point to where we've been sort of drifting up with more offense, and this year just went zip.
Yep.
For a variety of reasons. And the way you counteract that is to have a tougher pitcher. And there is something real to that adjustment of of seeing somebody 2 times. Maybe you've got a plan against her. And that third time through the order, you go, okay, I've got her. I know what she's going to do. But now all of a sudden you've got somebody different coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. But in a nutshell, though, that 5th inning told the story of the series because Texas Tech didn't take advantage of that opportunity. Texas took care of the Texas, their opportunities, right? Isn't that the story at the end of the day?
Precisely.
Always.
Yeah.
Let me ask you both this, and you got to see Tegan Kavan up close here, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Does she get the title belt as the best pitcher in the college softball now? I mean, we've talked so much about Carlin Pickens and Jordy. Now, Jordy, I think is a different category because she can hit. I think she's more of the best player argument than just a best pitcher because she does so many things.
Yeah.
including playing while she's pregnant, which is why that's going to add to the lore of her legacy, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But you look at Tegan Cavan's resume: 2 national championships, 2 World Series Outstanding Player of the World Series trophies, an SEC MVP. Like, what else does she need to do? You know what I mean? Like, what did she have to do? She's beaten almost everybody on her way there.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and they showed the split of regular season versus Women's College World Series. For whatever reason, she handles that stage better than anybody else. And we know, it's a whole different deal there. I mean, you're talking about, even for Alabama, who plays in front of the biggest crowds in the sport, they're playing in front of 4,000 people a game. The crowd multiplies by three times when you go down there to Oklahoma City, and you have all the extra things that you have to do, the extra obligations. And, some people handle it, some people don't. And clearly Cavan just handles that better. You wonder if it's one of those, again, it's sort of the champion. I'm working on a champions theory here, which is second time. When you make your second run, your regular season's not going to be as good, because the money's on the line in June, and everything's about getting to June. And so, you want to win in April against Arkansas, but it's not life or death the way it is in June against Texas Tech. I wonder if there's some of that with Cavan. We'll never know entirely.
No, I agree, and I've talked to them about it even during the season, and I could tell there is much more calm this year. I mean, I have followed this group pretty closely since really 24, where they were in their last year of the Big 12, and I covered the Big 12 tournament, and you could tell they were angst because they hadn't won the national title, and they were going through it for the first time, and then ran into Oklahoma, and that was the bugaboo. Can you beat Oklahoma? And then last year, I think the turning point was when they beat Oklahoma in that winner's bracket game. You remember Tegan Cavan's grandmother had passed. She pitches that game. I think that changed the whole complexion of this program. They would go on to win the national title. And I think this year they came in like, we know what to expect. We've been through this. No, we're not too concerned about it. We're not going to sweat it. And I think Tegan Cavan is one of those athletes that rises to the occasion the bigger the game is. And I'm sure we can come up with names in various sports of comparisons to that, but she's on that list. I mean, what she's done here, think about it. She beats Kenzie Brown in a game 3 to get to a World Series.
Winner take all.
A magnificent pitching duel with Jordy to get to the semifinal, which should not be forgotten. That was an incredible game. Only makes one mistake, which is to the arguably the best player in the planet in Jordy Fromm, right? Like that's it.
Robot away.
And then semifinal, outpitches Carlin Pickens, and here gets a win and a save to close it out against Texas Tech and Nyjah, who she's beaten in the past. That's a heck of a resume for her. But one of the interesting things about Texas this year, the big question was who's the number 2 pitcher. Mike White's been like, we don't, number 2, and Setali Gutierrez late in the season, I think, stepped up and became the answer to that number 2 pitcher, because that was the big question they had. And why they weren't as consistent, I think, as they would have liked in the regular season.
Yeah. And Gutierrez was good enough today. And that minimizes what she did. She was really good against a great Texas Tech lineup. But, as a 2, you need to hang in there and just give your guys a chance to win. Give your guys a chance to come back. She did that well. She did that great. If anything, bringing the in and out with Wells in the 5th inning interrupted that rhythm a little bit. But, she was phenomenal for them, and especially where you thought that was Tech's big advantage. Yeah. They had a 1 and a 1A, and where Cavan was clearly the 1, and there was a big drop to 2. And Tech, seemingly, with how they decided to utilize their starting pitchers, didn't use that advantage.
All right, Vic, back to you. I know you had more issues in the 5th inning from the Texas Tech side.
Well, Texas Tech, you think about with Texas is starting to get their rolling. Altmaier with the single, Maloney singles. You get first and second, nobody out. Nichols hits the fielder's choice, and then you see Tara Archibald come to the circle, talk to Nyjah Kennedy. You see Caitlin Terry leave left field. She's warming up. Then Henry lines out on an amazing play by Altman that's, I think, kept Texas Tech in the game for the time being. Yeah. Then they intentionally walked Katie Stewart, and you got Vivi Martinez at the plate. That would have been the ideal time to bring Caitlin Terry in for that lefty versus lefty matchup. All you need to do, you get a ground ball. She gets the ground ball, the shortstop boots the throw, and the eventual 2 winning runs score, and Texas Tech falls apart from there.
Do you agree with that, Nate?
Yeah, I just didn't get what their pitching plan was there. I'm totally on board with Victor that Terry needed to come into that game right there. At least by then. God, if anything, that was a little late for me. If anything, bring her in at the beginning of the inning, and maybe that would have rushed her a little bit. But yeah, Terry needed to pitch in this game in that inning. I mean, why'd you get her? Why did you pick her up?
Thank you.
And I know Nyjah Kennedy is an elite level pitcher, is a top-notch pitcher, is one of those that got you here. But the situation begged for a lefty versus lefty. And clearly the game was starting to get out of Nyjah Kennedy's hands. Break the momentum, bring in your great pitcher that is in the bullpen, somebody talked him out of bringing Nyjah Kennedy into this game, I think, because there was at least the thought that that they were going to go to Terry at some point. That there had to be. That's why you pulled her out of the game. That's why you put her in the bullpen.
And we may get the answer from Jerry in the postgame. I'm sure if somebody asked the question there at the press conference. So. All right, so I'll play devil's advocate. Everything you both said is fair and accurate. Yeah. I can't dispute anything you've said. Let me just play their side of this.
Please do.
Because in their defense, Nyjah got the ground ball to possibly get out of the inning. It just wasn't defensively wasn't executed. And again, if you pull her, you bring Terry in, and Terry gives up, let's say, a base hit or a home run. Now we're second guessing him. Why did you take Nyjah out and all that? And again, he did say this on the record in the postgame game 1. He has a harder time pulling Nyjah out of a game than he does bringing her in out of the bullpen. So I think he felt like I'm going to trust her with my season on the line more so than Caitlin Terry. So I understand why he did not pull her, but you both make valid points. You've done it before. Yeah. You've done it during this World Series. Yeah. Why not do it here where you have the lefty-lefty matchup? But again, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't like the matchup there. It was weird, the Terry thing, because you start her in game 1, you pull her, and you never see her again. Pitch. I don't know. And I wonder if he got caught looking ahead. Yeah. Is he thinking, I don't want to burn her here because I don't want to use her here because I'm going to probably start her tomorrow? But you can't think that way. And I felt like you sometimes I think Jerry got caught looking ahead too much, and you got to play for the moment. And I really do think, guys, and I'm wondering, and Nate, you have a unique perspective because you saw Texas Tech like I did in Clearwater and beat them actually in a very dramatic Sunday game. So you knew about the hoopla back then, and all the hoopla since it's even, I think, increased with some of the stuff that's gone on. I wonder if the pressure got to them. Because to me, Nate, I felt of all the teams in the World Series, they were the one team that basically was either a national title or bust because of all the way they added the players with all the stuff that's been going on in the postseason. I felt, and I wonder if the pressure just got to all of them.
Yeah, the extra distractions, the noise, if not pressure, at least distractions with the Taylor panel thing, with the Williams thing at Florida, just the externalities just got in their way. And you're right that they had a unique level of pressure. I mean, Texas probably would have felt like this was a failure if they didn't win the whole thing. But you're right. Tech absolutely had the most pressure of anybody. And especially when they came in as sort of the black hat. You know, if you're the villain, it's awful fun to be the villain until you lose. And then everybody takes a little schadenfreude in your defeat. And I think they had worked this whole season to get to this point, and you get right back to where you were the year before with your looking face to face at Nigeri Kennedy and Texas Tech, or Tegan Cavan in Texas. You fought all year long to get back into this place, and you get run out of the building yesterday, and then things start to wobble a little bit in that fifth inning, and then you blow a critical play. And so I think pressure, distractions, the whole thing just got to them. And because from a talent standpoint, they should be at least even, if not superior, to Texas.
I agree. That's one of the reasons why I kind of flipped my pick, actually. I thought Tech, you look at last year, much closer series. I thought Tech has upgraded enough offensively to make the difference over Texas. I was wrong, which is fine. I'm perfectly good with that. I know Texas are having fun with me and Vic right now on social media. Like, guys, why are you going after us? Go celebrate your national title.
Don't you have some champagne to drink?
Yeah. What exactly? I already congratulated you. Okay, I was wrong. Good big deal. What big deal? Yeah. But I agree with everything you said. And I even said this on the pod on Monday, and I got some pushback. I thought Texas Tech had a case of rabbit ears. It always, and you saw that, I thought, on Saturday with the Tennessee saga, where Taylor Panel just said, well, Karen said, which turned out wasn't Karen. Now, do I believe her that somebody said, hey, you made a mistake? Sure. Hey, guess what? You're going to get trash talked. Why are you bringing that up? Well, unless you're looking for it, and you should be focused on that. So I agree with you. I think they made this a lot harder on themselves than they should have been for them in that regard. And I think you're right. It's Jerry's likes to play, we'll be happy to be the villain and all that. There comes weight with that because you're going to get it from a lot of different angles. And eventually that catches up with you. And I think it caught up with them a little bit. And I do think there was a psychological edge Texas had because they had beaten them last year, not just in the Champ Series, but they beat them in the regular season last year. I do think there were some psychological things there that Texas knew they could beat them, and Texas Tech wasn't sure if they could beat them.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Tech was still waiting to break through against Texas. And there again, Tech, with all their talk and embracing the villain and the distractions and all that stuff, they were trying to pretend to be the team instead of just being the team.
And it's hard it's hard for people who are like a bull to have to all of a sudden wear that black cat. There are people who can embrace it. There are some people who aren't comfortable with it. And I felt as this went along, Nate and Eric, Texas Tech started to feel that burden, that pressure of being the team that, hey, if we don't win this is a disappointment. While Texas, and Nate, I asked Eric this early in the season. I asked you this: has there ever been a least talked about reigning national champion going into the following season than Texas? Because all the talk was about Oklahoma of what they had. All the talk was about Texas Tech, and rightfully so. All the talk was about your Cornhuskers, with everybody loading up at getting close to Oklahoma City a year ago. Texas kind of flew under the radar, and it felt that way even in Oklahoma City as well. And we end up with the same result with Texas winning the national title.
Yeah, it's funny. They because of the championship, I think everybody took them for granted, and everybody said, okay, well, they won and they're going to be around, but we don't really need to pay attention to them. And, there again, that's where that sort of not focusing in the regular season or playing the regular season at a 9 instead of a 9.95, ended up, paying off in their favor. You'd never tell a team to do that, but Tegan Cavan's numbers are good, but they're not holy crap. Look at those. I mean, Katie Stewart had a really good year, but she didn't hit 40 home runs like Megan Grant or Kendall over at Oklahoma. I mean, they were just perfectly situated to fly under the radar, to be really, really good, and yet not really gain anybody's attention. There was just enough that was weird, that was off about them, that made you think, okay, they're gettable. They won last year, but that was because Najee Kennedy got tired, basically. And this year's when somebody gets them, and that's just not the case. They got a lot of guts to them.
No question about that. Texas, your national champions back to back. People asking about whether they shook handshake lines or not. I didn't see anything. I mean, it's kind of, we saw that the broadcast showed Texas celebrating and Texas Tech kind of picking up stuff in the dugout. Hard to tell. I didn't see. Did you guys see anything?
What is this obsession with handshake lines? I've never seen such a big obsession with handshake lines in the last 3 weeks.
In fairness, Nate and I did shake hands when I saw him in person at the World Series.
We did shake hands. I do know. Maybe it was like 2 years ago, the 2024 Nebraska-Iowa game. Nebraska's captains, posing as tough and we're going to come into your house. They didn't shake Iowa's captain's hands at the center of the field. So the Iowa people took a ton of glee from Nebraska losing that game on a field goal, as has been their want lately. But again, this is the external crap that Texas Tech brought on themselves. And you add to that this way that they have built their roster, there was a lot of weight on them. There was a lot of extra stuff on them beyond just, and then you have trying to bring all these great players together to a cohesive team. And that's an uphill climb, even if you have the best kids and even if you have a perfect environment, which they didn't have.
Again, I thought last year's team, actually, I liked better than this year's team. I just thought it fit better. I know it wasn't as talented, but as I said last night, I think there's Charles Barkley said it once about Kevin Durant and people about bus drivers versus bus riders. And I think on Tech, you had a bunch of bus riders and Texas had a bunch of bus drivers. And that to me, that's the story there. And look, Nate, I'm curious, Nate, you've obviously been at this a long time. What do you think is Texas Tech's legacy from this? And I feel for Nyjah. I do feel for Nyjah because she's had an incredible career. Ironically, this is the third year in a row her season comes at the end eliminated by Texas.
Oof.
So, which is kind of how it ended at Stanford, and it's how it's going to end here at Texas Tech. And what do you think what do you remember? What is this team going to be remembered by?
I think we're going to remember them, and I'm going to make a comparison that's a bit of a stretch, but hang with me here. But think of how we talk about the Fab Five in college basketball with Michigan, where it was a high talented team and it was a really good team, but they didn't get the job done. And then, of course, we found out later, Chris Webber was getting money under the table to go there for what it's worth. They caught him. God knows how many others were. But all the same, I think we're going to remember them as a team that was unconventionally built, that was really talented, but just did not get the job done on the biggest stage. And the real question is, will teams continue to be built this way? Are we going to see other schools invest this way? Or are they going to look at it and go, it didn't work for Tech, it's not going to work for us? And I think that's where the fuller picture of their legacy will develop. I think there's going to be plenty remembered about, especially this NCAA tournament run, where they wore the black hat. We've, it's been a while. You guys can probably set me straight on this. There are teams that have won a lot. People got tired of Oklahoma winning every year. People probably got tired of Arizona in the 2000s. They probably got tired of UCLA. But we've never had a team wear the black hat for a variety of reasons. How they were built, how they presented, how their fans acted, like Texas Tech. And so I think they'll be enshrined as sort of a cautionary tale of this is what happens when you build essentially an NIL all-star team and try to build in that way rather than organically.
Roster construction, I think, is a word we're hearing more and more now in college athletics. And I don't think people had a problem with getting players from the portal. That's part of college sports today.
Sure.
I think one of the more celebrated ones is how Jordy went from Oklahoma to Nebraska. I think everybody loved that story.
Sure.
And I think that carried over to this year, which I do want to talk to you about Nebraska in the World Series and her there and all the flowers that she got throughout and all that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I think the issue that I think a lot of people have is kind of the in-your-face thing that Tech did, and a lot of stuff that they kind of, it is what it is. So we'll see how they adjust to that. If they adjust, they may not. I don't think they're done. I don't think they're going to go away and say, "Well, we tried. That's it."
Right.
I think they'll make the effort, but it's going to be hard to find another Nyjah. And I really think they had a good nucleus last year, and I think they just needed to tweak it and maybe, look, it's easy to say that they're 2 wins away from the national title, but that was their goal, and they became a target as a result, and that does take its toll. Not all of that is on the players, too. Some of the family members who, have to go on podcasts to talk about why they're leaving the World Series only to come back to the World Series. That nonsense. You just that's the problem, that why I think a lot of people are turned off. And I think some of the national media that has tried to compare Texas Tech to the LA Dodgers and things like that don't have it accurate. That's not what this is.
Right.
That's not the issue that people have with it.
Yeah, and I think with the whole Texas Tech situation is that at the core, there are good people on the Texas Tech roster and the coaching staff. It's just the outside noise around it that caused them to become something that they were uncomfortable being, and that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
When you're a good, and in wrestling terms, when you're a good guy and people are booing you, you have to turn heel, and you're uncomfortable being a heel, and you don't end up winning.
And softball fans are very fanatical, and it's gonna get tense. So it is what it is. Look, you look at Texas. Yes, they've added players through the portal, but look at that core of that team, all recruited from high school. The Reese Outwoods, the Tegan Cavans, the Stewarts, the Henrys. There's a core there, and then they add pieces to it around it. I think that's the blueprint. I think it's a mixture. I don't think you can win anymore necessarily just recruiting. I think that's tough in this day and age of college ethics. But I think a mixture is the key.
Yeah, we've seen it. We're fans of pro sports as well, and you see those teams that make a run the year before, and so the owner goes, "Okay, we're close. I'm going to sign 17 free agents or whatever," and they just don't come together. And I get that sense with this Texas Tech team where it isn't even necessarily the fault of the kids. It isn't even really necessarily the fault of the coaches. It's really tough to bring everybody into one room and unite them around one cause, especially in softball, where you're going to fail a lot, where it's going to be tough, even if you're really good. And buy into the team concept and fight for each other. And, looking at Nebraska's situation, that was a unique situation. And, Jordy was homesick, and there was so much question and controversy about where the Nebraska softball program was going in 2021. or I guess it was 2019 when the investigation was. And so she had a chance to go somewhere and have something secure then, but she had to jump on the bus right then. And I think the thought process was similar for a big chunk of that lineup this year, the Kamensons, Hoffman, etc. And they all came back. I don't think in Nebraska's heart of hearts you would want a lineup that is so transfer heavy, but just because of the situation, the investigation with Rhonda Revelle. And the other part is because they all knew each other, they played club ball together, they had connections. And so it was just picking up relationships, working out with each other, taking batting practice in your off hours by yourselves. It was just a resumption of relationships. Whereas a team like Texas Tech, where it felt like an all-star team, those were all new relationships, and they were still getting to know each other.
Agreed on that. Let's talk Nebraska here a little bit. I want to talk about this World Series in general. I know this was special for you. Vic, I've never seen Nate with a bigger smile on his face than when I saw him before the Arkansas game. I felt bad because I walked into his booth and they got all these, they're waiting for him because he's got to do like a pregame hit for Nebraska. And they're like, where is he? I'm like, I don't know. You'll come, I swear. But I know you've had days to reflect on it now. What did this World Series mean? What was it like for you to be back there? You have not been back. You told me since 2013, which was the last time Nebraska made it there. I got to sit in both in the Nebraska-Arkansas game, which to me is the most was an incredible game that I may go under the radar a little bit in this World Series because of the UCLA Tech game. Yeah. But I think that game is as good as any in this tournament. Amazing drama. And the atmosphere of that game, I'll never forget. It's one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen in a softball game with Arkansas fans and Nebraska fans. I sat with Nebraska fans in the outfield in that game. I sat in the middle of Nebraska fans at first base during the Alabama game, which I actually interviewed Torrey Tyson during it, which was for the podcast.
I'll bet that was a trip.
Just put it all into context, because I was blown away. I remember talking to Ava Cusack during the season about, hey, what would it mean to get to the World Series, and would this, the whole state of Nebraska support it? Boy, it did. Yeah. Give me your takeaways now if you had time to reflect.
Yeah, it felt like Nebraska softball got on the national stage, and it was really special. It was the culmination of the Jordy Fromm transfer and all these kids coming back, and especially after the investigation in 2019, you wonder if we're ever going to sniff anything like this again. And not only did Nebraska sniff, going to the Women's College World Series, they got there and then they won a game and then they took the team that ended up winning the whole thing to the wire. So they acquitted themselves very well. It was special to see the program back there. It's funny because of the 13-year drought, I missed all the renovations to Devon Park. I went down there 10 times, I think, in my first decade or so doing softball because the Big 12 tournament was there. And so we would go there every year. And then, when they made the series in 13, that was only our second year out of the Big 12. So it hadn't been that long. And the ballpark was pretty much the same one that I had gone to. And it was a bigger stage. But it just really feels like the series has grown so much in that decade. And for Nebraska to be on that big stage and to be there and to be a factor, it was really special. And, we always fight the attention battle at Nebraska with softball because people are very invested in our baseball program as well. They should. They hosted a regional this year. People are invested in our volleyball program. Our spring volleyball matches are televised on a statewide network and radio broadcast across the state. So it feels like we have to fight a little bit to get our seat at the table and get our plate filled with attention, with excitement, with following, whatever. Well, we got it filled this time, and it felt really good to see everybody's hard work culminate the way it did with a nice run in the Women's College World Series and being very competitive. I mean, the Alabama game, they struggled. They got off to a bad start and never really got their feet under them. But, you know, the Arkansas game, as you mentioned, was a classic. It's going to be one of those memories of my life that I'll be replaying. You know, every time I'm down a little bit, I'll see Kuzak's ball flying out of there. And, you know, the Texas game, they acquitted themselves well.
And it's a World Series that I also will be remembered, where we say goodbye to Nyjah, goodbye to Carlin Pickens, and bye to Jordy, who were the three faces of this sport in a lot of ways, as well as Megan Grant and Jordan Woolery from the offensive standpoint. Think about that. I don't know how many World Series we can say that about 5 legendary players. Then those 5, Nate, which you had the privilege of calling a game where all of them were involved at some point this year.
Yeah, that's the fun part about how tough Nebraska's schedule was this year, is that we saw them all. We played them all. Had a chance to go against them all. And there again, the fact that Nebraska stacked up as well as they didn't win them all. They lost to Tennessee, and that was a blowout. And, you know, they lose to Texas. But, you know, they were a factor. They were a factor throughout, and they stacked up with the best programs in college softball. And for that to happen this year was really special. And to ride that this year, I mean, was it a complete surprise? Not really, because you got Jordy Fromm and they made the run last year, but just to experience it and live it, that was really special.
I asked you this last year. I think it was last year. No, or it might have been before the UCLA series. No, I think it was last year, actually. Mm-hmm. Which about Jordy's place in history. And you said you had an idea, but you wanted to see how it played out before making a final determination. Well, it's done here. Yeah. What is Jordy's legacy at Nebraska? And second part to that question, is she the greatest Nebraska softball player ever?
Second question first, yes. Period. I mean, you're talking National Player of the Year. You're talking a two-way force. And the year she didn't win National Player of the Year, she was one of 3 finalists. She single-handedly lifted the program and the sport in the state to a higher level, to a greater prominence. I think her legacy, I've tried to think of biggest impact Huskers across all sports, because Nebraska has a great athletic department. And all I'll say is, you know, you look at Hawks Field where the baseball team plays, you look at Pinnacle Bank Arena, Memorial Stadium, John Cook Arena, the Devaney Center. They're big arenas, they're big facilities, they're good facilities. There's not a part of those facilities that you can look at and say, that part of the facility was built because that player came here. There are 3 sections of bleachers down the third baseline that weren't there until Jordy Fromm signed with Nebraska. They're there now, and they're going to stay there. The question is, do they stay full? But they're there. And it's because Jordy Fromm came to Nebraska and expanded the interest and the possibilities for this program, and showed that Nebraska softball can get on this national stage. And so I think that's her legacy. I'm hopeful that Alexis Jensen takes the torch. It would be unrealistic to look at next year and go, oh, Nebraska's going to be a top 10 team. There's just too much to replace. But at the very least, I think Jensen has seen what it takes to pitch at a Women's College World Series level. And hopefully she can drive this program. They feel very good about their freshman class. And then hopefully there's a transfer or two that's added that keeps them competitive and keeps them in the neighborhood to where they can rebuild this thing up and make another run.
Well said. It's tremendous. Do you think she'll play again?
Jordy?
Yeah.
I do. You know, I think we all took the golden ticket, you know, basically not getting a golden ticket.
Right.
You know, when that went down, that was the first inkling of something's going on here. But I'll be real honest that I kind of put it out of my mind. And, how do you go up to Jordy Fromm and say, all right, how do you feel about this pitcher's rise ball? And, oh, by the way, are you pregnant? That's not a question you can ask and expect to be allowed on the team bus the next day. But I think Jordy will, she'll give birth to this child. I would be very surprised if she's not a factor for the 28 Olympic team. I think she will compete for that. And I think she'll be a factor in Pro Bowl as well. I'm not quite as secure on that, but I would bet really good money Jordy Fromm is a part of the national team conversation. And you think about the timing of all this. She gets married last fall. And goes through pregnancy. The child's going to be born in December. That leaves a lot of time for rehab, for recovery, for getting her timing back, for getting her strength back to where she'll be in the best position she can be in to compete for that national team. So that's my expectation. And, that's just me connecting dots and reading tea leaves and such. But I'd be surprised if she's not a factor for that 28 Olympic team.
Vic, I know you have something in mind.
Yes. Well, we actually, gentlemen, have a very special guest standing by. We did this day last year when they won the national championship. Well, it worked so well. Let's do it again for a second year in a row from the press box at Devon Park.
Oh, Andrew.
The play-by-play voice of the now two-time national champion Texas Longhorns, Mr. Andrew Haynes. How you feeling, champ? Again.
Deja vu all over again, man. It's pretty special. Yeah, what's going on, Nate? Sorry I missed you when we did a couple days ago, but hectic everything here, obviously. And,
sure.
Man, what a feeling to get it done, especially the sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I think just a moment for your team to take care of business. Satali once again doing the job. And then Vivi Martinez, ironically enough, after missing all of last year, having to watch the celebration from the bench, she comes through with the play that ends up scoring the winning runs. And then Tegan Gavon does Tegan Gavon things and she closes the door and leads Texas to a second national championship.
Yeah, it was going to take something like that against Nyjah. She's just so good, and that was how we beat her in the semis 2 years ago and ended her season with Stanford. Her Stanford career really was an error on at least a mental error on a rundown late in the game. We had beat them in the semis 1-0, scoring a run on a squeeze punt, and so this time. Got bases loaded. They insisted on walking Katie Stewart to load them up, and Vivi came through. It wasn't, pretty, but it got the job done. Speed put the pressure on, and Texas Tech couldn't handle it.
Andrew, first of all, you noticed I stopped going to say hello to you after you lost the first game. I took the blame for the booth. I never went back. You won every game, so I'll take the hit for the one loss there to Tennessee. But it's ironic. We were talking to Nate earlier about that classic on Sunday between Jordy and Tegan, where, Jordy's no-hitting them with 5 outs away from your season coming to an end, Andrew. Just take us through your mindset here. You're 5, and maybe that's the story of this team. It just seems when it gets to the brink, you guys find a way. That's been your story the last couple of years.
That's been the case. It's, when their back's against the wall, they flip the switch, and sometimes it takes longer to flip the switch. 8th inning, game 2 of the Supers against Clemson last year was 2nd and 3rd, no one out. Down to the last 4 outs against Arizona State this year. And, Texas A&M Super Regional 2 years ago, game 2 and extra innings. They just, I don't know what it is. Mike White just recruited and instilled in these players just some level of confidence that they just do not get down. They do not get beat. They don't beat themselves, that they know that they can get the job done. And, yeah, they got a couple runners on against Jordy on Sunday, and then Katie came up and she hadn't hit a home run yet. She might have hit one against Mississippi State. It's all blur now, but I guess she didn't because yesterday was the fourth in a row. So she came up and, Jordy just made one mistake, and hey, that's what a second-team All-American does. Should have been first-team All-American. Katie Stewart jumps on it and makes a difference in an instant. And so that kind of, I think, really kickstarted the team into going like, wait a sec, we can play with the best. Let's get this done. And they just kind of rolled from that point.
Tegan Cavan's an interesting case for me because, her numbers throughout the year are good, but, there are other pitchers who just look better, who just have better numbers throughout the year. But she turns into a different pitcher in the Women's College World Series. What's the difference?
Yeah, the nickname we have for her is Postseason Tegan. I don't know. Before this season, Mike White, talking to him, getting some information, one of the things he said was, Tegan was a second-team All-American last year. She has an ability to be the first-team All-American. So we're going to try to work on her this year to make sure she's on every time she pitches. For some reason, just during the regular season, sometimes it just goes wrong. And, she can't come back from it and tries to, like she's a gamer, but she gets to the World Series and like something just locks her in when it's the big stage under the bright lights. She's one of those players that just picks up their game.
I'll say, think about the pitchers you've had to go through to win this national title. Kenzie Brown in the Super Regional, All-American in herself, Big 12 MVP in the tournament. Super Regionals, you've got to, that Super Regional. You get to the World Series, you got to go through Jordy. You got to go through the Mississippi State staff. You got to go through Carlin Pickens. You got to go through Marjeko. Now you're here in Tech. You go through Terry and Kennedy. Can you put? That's a heck of a row there of pitchers you got. But Tegan's beaten almost all of them. That's what it's got to be all the resume. She's to me, and she's got one more year left. To me, she's got the heavyweight title belt as the best pitcher in the sport from that standpoint going into next year.
Yeah, this team beating all those pitchers, it just shows the ability they have up and down the lineup, and the different ways they can beat everyone with speed, with power, putting pressure on, manufacturing, bloop and a blast. They can do it every which way. I thought about it going into this Champ Series, and an underrated thing, I think, Texas, they had ended the careers of two legends. Jordy on Sunday, Pickens on Monday. Like, it kind of had to be ending the career of Kennedy. Last year, it took a little bit to kind of figure Kennedy out. This year, I think because of even last year, even a year ago, seeing her, I think they still had an idea of what she threw. And so I think this offense, I think the hitters are very smart. They have some great coaches. And you give them long enough, they're going to come through. And when it's on the big stage, you got Tegan pitching. That gives them long enough no matter what.
So how big was just from the booth in that you're seeing Texas win the championship again and just knowing that they did it, they found a way again in spite of the inconsistencies that you've seen from unlike last year where they're once again national champions, and you're on top of the college softball world for the second straight season.
Yeah, man, it was pretty awesome. It's a coach that I won't name made the comment last year. We don't play for number one in April. We play for number one in May. This team plays for number one in June, and I just at a loss for words at how fun it is to watch this team. How fun it is to be around them and see them prepare and see the love they have for each other. And, watching from up in the booth, it was pretty cool. And, being down in the celebration would be pretty cool, but hey, that's not our job, right? Our job is to communicate, everything that's going on. So it was just incredible feeling. I wasn't sure until the fifth inning that it was going to happen, or the seventh inning even, when they got those insurance runs. And once they did, it was kind of like, Tegan just struck out the side in order. Like, are they really going to score 3 runs? I don't think so. So it was a fun 7th inning to finish up with.
Nate, you got questions for Andrew there?
Yeah, I've got one. Aaron Earlywine joined the staff this year. I remember him from his old Mizzou days and, of course, the Big 12 days. What difference? What was he able to do for this team to make a difference, to help them achieve what they've achieved?
Yeah, he took over for Steve Singleton as the head coach, and when Singh went out to be the head coach at Cal, of course. Mm-hmm. And, Singh got a lot out of these hitters, really helped recruit well and make a difference in these players. And I think Aaron really, the notable thing, like he really helped Katie Stewart just up her game. Like there were some comments recently about her changing some things so she can get to everywhere on the plate and not have to, aim a certain spot, and then aim low, aim high. I think Aaron provided a little bit of a different voice. Not that, Singh was a bad voice. Like he was a great voice. The players loved him. And I think Coach E really helped fine tune some things in some of the players that helped get the best out of them.
We'll let you go on this so you could go celebrate. What does this mean for Mike White and this program? How you compare this second national title to last year? And I think for Mike White, to me, this puts him into a different category altogether, where now, to me, I think you can make an argument he's top 3, top 5 in this century among head coaches. I think he's on the same line as a Tim Walton, for example, which I don't know if people would have said that a year ago. I think he is. It's all for us media to get into all that conversation. We have plenty of time of that. But from your perspective, Mike White, a 2-time national champion, and put this national title in comparison to last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's made the comment, other people made the comment, like, what's harder than winning 1 title is winning 2, right? Especially back-to-back. And, he lost a couple of big pieces last year. The number 2 pitcher, Mac Morgan, All-American Mia Scott, Jolie Mitchell was a 2-year standout, slugging the butt at first base. And honestly, the freshman class did not perform up to what they expected. The main transfer, Kyle Altmaier, didn't quite perform up to what they expected. And even with that, he still got the most out of all these players. He pushed the right buttons, pulled the right levers. And I think, going off of last year, of course, he had lost in the Champ Series 2 of the previous 3 years going on into last year. Of course, he'd never even made the Champ Series with Oregon in his 9 years there, even though he made 5 World Series, had a couple number 1 seeds. And I think just having last year's experience and the experience of losing to the previous 3 years really has him in a really good mindset for what needs to happen when it needs to happen. And I do think he's one of the top coaches in the country. There's no doubt about it now. You're winning 2 natties, making 16 straight super regionals, and in his 9th World Series now, 4 out of the last 5 going to the Champ Series. He's an outstanding coach. The players love him. The staff loves him. And so I really think that he is absolutely one of the top 3 or 5 or whatever in the country.
Well, no doubt. We're blessed here, Vic. We got 2 of the best radio broadcasters in the sport right here.
Yes.
Going. And Andrew Haynes, every time now you come on the show, you're going to be referenced as a 2-time national champion radio voice of the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah. I'll get another one of these.
Hey!
I saw that. I saw that up close. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I guess it's true. As they say, it's true what they say. It's bigger. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Indeed.
Hey, man. Hey, listen, man. Go enjoy it. So congratulations. Great job as always. Always enjoy listening. It was great to see you there at the World Series, even though that led to the 1 loss. So we'll figure that out down the road. But
hey, it made it a bitter story, right? Being the 5th team to come all the way through after losing the first game.
Yes.
Only fitting. You have to be in the elimination mode, right? That's how you guys operate. You can't operate for, that's all you can do. All right, but hey, enjoy it. Congrats. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations again.
All right. Really appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
All right. That is the radio voice, Andrew Haynes. Vic, I mean, let's not sell Nate Rohr. You're getting a Big Ten ring, right?
To my understanding, I get a ring of some sort. It might be Women's College World Series,
Ooh.
Big Ten combo, Might be one or the other. I'm getting something glittery with an N on it, and I'm looking forward to it.
We're gonna have to get you back on and talk. I've heard that now teams sometimes if you make the World Series, you get a ring.
Yeah, I in 13 when we made it, I got a ring. The ring that I have worn for the last 4 years is the 2022 Big Ten Tournament Champs ring. So I'm hopeful. I've been led to believe that I'm on the lucky list of rings.
I mean, listen, if you're not, there's gonna be some. I'm gonna cause some heck. Like I'm gonna reach out and say what's going on.
We're having a strongly worded email.
By the way, that 2022, there are a lot of UCF fans, by the way, that really appreciated that Nebraska Big Ten title in 2022 because a lot of that helped UCF host over Michigan.
Oh yes.
In the region, because there was some talk that had Michigan won that Big Ten tournament, that they would have hosted over UCF, but you guys took care of business, so it didn't matter. Didn't get to that.
You're welcome.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I have no rings this year. I just have a T-shirt that says I was in a super. That's all.
You go.
That's all I got. Vic's got a wig somewhere. All there. That's what we. That's all we got.
Nearby. The wigs are in the stores for the off season.
Yeah. All right, Vic. So we let Nate go. He's tolerated us for over an hour.
We saw felines around. We saw kids running around. I think it's time that we let Mr. Rohr go about his duties.
Hey, thank you for having me, guys, and we'll be excited to fire this thing up in February again. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Nate, it's been great seeing you all year. Saw you in Clearwater. Saw you in Oklahoma City. I was genuinely happy for you to get back to the World Series, to get back in that stadium. That I know that meant a lot to you. I could see it in your eyes and the pride you had. And boy, you guys made some memories there that certainly nobody will forget. Hopefully, it won't be too long before we see you again there.
Yeah.
But we'll be in touch.
Hey, sounds good. We'll see you, gentlemen.
All right, that is the radio voice, Nate Rohr.
Yes.
What a packed show, Vic.
Hey, man. Only the best for the best fans who follow us all season long. And Mr. Lopez, we have made it through another collegiate softball season in 2026. And we ended the same way we ended the 2025 season with Texas winning the national championship and Tegan Gavon winning the most outstanding player. And Eric, I want to give you this stat that I found for Tegan Gavon. I want to show this to you because this is just absolutely ridiculous. Here are the numbers for Tegan Gavon in the World Series, including tonight. A 1.03 ERA, 10-2 with a couple saves, 16 appearances, 81 in the third innings, only 16 walks. Now, Eric, I'm just going to say this right now. Tegan Gavon is the best pitcher in the sport right now. She proved it
in college softball. And she has cemented herself as the second greatest pitcher in Texas history. We all know Cat's number one, Tegan's number two. Everyone else, y'all now fighting for three. And I would say that Tegan's close to Cat. I think Cat would be the first to tell you, hey, come on board. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes.
Right. Well, it's a cool neighborhood to have. And congrats to Reese Atwood. What a way to go out as a national champion. I thought that was so fitting that that Tegan said we wanted to for Reese. Those two have been tight. That's been her catcher. I remember we've had both of them on. Remember last year, Vic, we had them on the podcast.
We did.
Both of them together.
We did.
Before the 2025 season. So a special group. Contrary to what some Texas fans right now are blowing my social media and Vic's social media up, we do like Texas, guys. Just, okay? It's okay. Like, settle down. Like, my goodness, you would have thought we insulted them or something. Like, I mean, my goodness.
Well, Eric, that's the world in which we live in. When you pick.
If you listen to the preseason show, I picked Texas to beat Texas. Now, I'm only going to get half credit. I should have listened. I should have watched the tape before making my final pick. I got forced into that pick.
This is what we're
because you told me on the live show. You told me on the live show that we both agreed on the national title pick. Turned out we did, which is. In fact, what's funny, you had Tech, I had Texas in the preseason. So we both were kind of right. But listen, I'm impressed. The way Texas manhandled Texas Tech, I'm not going to say I expected that. Did you?
Nope. I think it was more surprising. Well, let me ask you this question before we wrap up, and y'all can answer this in the chat. What was more surprising? The fact that Texas beat Texas Tech 2 straight, or the fact that they dominate, or that fact that they handled Texas Tech as easily as they did?
The second part. I really do. 2 games that could happen. I just didn't see them. Honestly, Vic, this was a pretty one-sided deal, to the point where I will admit I got distracted because the hockey game, the Stanley Cup final game, got crazy. And there's controversy going on as we speak with the Stanley Cup final over a goal that was canceled. I don't know what's going on. That's unfortunately the game, I don't think, lived up to maybe the hype last year, but Texas was clearly the better team, and a credit to them. And to me, Vic, they're one of the greatest teams in the history of the college softball.
Yes.
And how amazing, Victor. I think back to 2024, where we did a show from the Orlando at the complex. That was the first year that UCF was in the Big 12. They hosted both Texas and Oklahoma. Remember, we had Andrew Haynes in the press box, and we had Chris Plank.
Yes.
Between those 2 programs, they have won the last 6 national championships. I mean, what about that stat? That is unbelievable.
They have won the last 6 national championships, and have played for the last 7. Think about that. And have played each other twice for a national championship in that stretch.
It's incredible. Those are the 2 best programs with the 2 best head coaches in the sport.
Yep.
And that's the premier rivalry in the sport. But credit to Texas, man. They're really good. Tough for Nyjah. I think Nyjah, you look at her legacy, certainly brought a lot of eyeballs to the sport. I really treated fans really well on the side. Unfortunately, Vic, I think she reminds me a little bit of Peyton Manning against Florida. Remember the college football where they couldn't get over, the Tennessee teams couldn't beat over the hump over Florida, Texas Tech. She could not get over the hump of Texas 3 years in a row. That's the other reason why I kind of leaned with Tech. I just thought they were due. And I feel for Nyjah in that regard, because I think she will get some unfair stuff there where I don't blame her for the loss in this series. I blame other people around her, maybe some of her teammates, some of the decisions that were made. But that, to me, it is what it is. And, I think she's done a lot of it. She brought a lot of interest to the sport. And I've seen her behind the scenes treat fans very well. And I expect her to do very well in the AUSL and professionally there and moving forward. So that's the bummer for her in Texas Tech. We'll see where Texas Tech goes from here, Vic. But best team won in Texas.
Yep. And still, newsflash, that's going to be the title of our podcast episode on Monday.
Oh, boy. Still. We got a lot of coming up on that show. Alyssa Lang will air the interview I had with her at the World Series.
Yes.
She's literally about getting ready to go on the air right now.
She was on the air as we speak.
Yeah. So we'll talk to her about how the heck does she do all this stuff that she does. Sideline, hosting. She does it all. We'll air that interview on Monday. We'll have other interviews. We might play a portion of this live show because we had some good content over the last 2 nights. I have another guest that we're going to break down this series as well. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's somebody. If you have followed this podcast and the live show, which how many years we've been doing this live show?
Our 6th consecutive year.
This particular person
in the Circle Live in the World Series.
This particular guest that I will have on has been a prominent guest on the live show the last few years. I don't want to say too much more, but she's been a part of our postseason coverage, a coach who has some things to talk about. So we'll leave that there. But also check out D1 Softball. Yes, Rhiannon Potke made the pick. Everybody say, well, Pocky's the only one that knows. No, really? Yeah, of course Pocky is smart and knows softball. Duh. Clown. Jeez. Ooh, you're getting me all. Ooh, mother. Yeah. Pocky knows her stuff. Jenna Becerra interview, I'm sure, winning players, maybe coach from the national champions. We'll have full coverage from Oklahoma City on D1 Softball there. So make sure you check that out. By the way, if you subscribe
to d1softball.com and use the promo code WCWS26, you get 25% off any subscription. If you get an annual subscription, that will cover you all the way up to the end of next year's Women's College World Series. So,
I beg your pardon. Can you say that again? Some people might want to. What?
So, if you get an annual subscription to D1 Softball, use promo code WCWS26, get 25% off that annual subscription. That covers you. That could potentially cover you, depending on the dates of the World Series next year. That could potentially cover you up to the Women's College World Series next year. So, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't get a subscription. And by the way, if you participated in the D1 Softball Bracket Challenge, brought to you by Chinook Scenery, and you're the grand prize winner, you get a 1-year annual subscription to D1 Softball. So, I'm just saying. And plus, yes, Mr. Lopez, you're looking at your phone. What coaching hires happened this time?
Well, there will be coaching moves made, so make sure you check out D1 Softball for that. Check out Justin McLeod. He's been busy. Lots of moves. Players announcing they're going to the portal, which, by the way, opens on Monday officially. So it's going to get chaotic there. But we'll also, obviously, some coaching hires are going to be taking place as well in the coming days and weeks. We'll be following that as well. The the all-tournament team just came out.
Yes.
While we had Andrew on, I want your quick thoughts here. Jocelyn Brisky of Alabama, pitcher.
Right.
Marley Giles, catcher, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Jenna Young, infielder, Alabama. Makes the team. Jordy Fromm, Nebraska. Taylor Tinsley, UCLA. Jordan Woolery, UCLA. Nyjah Kennedy, Texas Tech. Maya Davis, Texas Tech. Caitlin Terry, Texas Tech. Mia Williams, Texas Tech. Katie Stewart, Texas. And Tegan Cavan, the MOP of Texas.
I'm surprised there's no Megan Grant.
I thought the same thing. I would have put Grant in there. I voted for Grant. I think Gutierrez should have gotten consideration as well.
She's certainly good. Yeah, because you look at the starts that she made, the 6 2/3 versus Tennessee to set up the if necessary game, and then the game she pitched tonight to set up Texas to win their second.
But this goes back to your point, Vic. Tech gets all this like tournament team stuff. Texas is more than Texas, but Texas brings the most important trophy, right? This is it's so fitting.
It's synonymous. It's synonymous. It really is.
Let's put a bow on this postseason and this World Series, Vic. You got to see it up there. I was there for half of it. Certainly, I remember the crowds. Especially the Arkansas, Nebraska crowd was incredible. That was fantastic. And really, a lot of the crowds that were fantastic. A lot of people wondered, they're going to draw. They drew. They broke some record attendance sessions there. I'll never forget the Megan Grant. I was there when she broke Stacey Newman's home run record. The UCLA Texas Tech game was incredible. I would probably rank that as the best game of this World Series, followed by Nebraska Arkansas 2. Would you agree with that?
Well, Eric, let's actually ponder that because we got some time to think about that now that the World Series is done tonight instead of tomorrow. So we're actually going to talk about that on our next episode. And each of us are going to come up with our top 5 moments of the Women's College World Series. So
maybe we'll extend that to the postseason. We can extend that to the postseason.
Top 5 moments of the postseason.
So there's a lot of stuff to get over. Plus, now my question is between now and this Monday podcast, how many more podcasts is a certain parent going to come on to talk about why he left the World Series to not take attention away from the players, but then come back to the World Series, but then leave? A lot.
I know one podcast where that bull job won't be tolerated. This one.
Yeah, that's a whiff, my friend. Hey, thanks to Nate Rohr for joining us. Thanks to Andrew Haynes for joining us on the show. Thanks to Leah Nelson for joining us in Game 1. We will have a new podcast Monday in the Circle D1 Softball. We'll have plenty of guests. We'll have more on Texas making history, going back-to-back as national champions, beating Texas Tech. Go to D1 Softball 2 on the YouTube channel. You'll get the press conferences there post-game press conferences from the entire World Series at Oklahoma City. I gave the baton to them. We used to carry that and put it on In the Circle. Instead, it'll be on D1 Softball. There's some interviews that you've got to post, sir, that you promised the audience last night.
I'm on it.
By the way, congrats to DJ Gasso. One of the big coaching news, in my opinion, and the biggest splash to date. DJ Gasso, the new head coach at Tulsa. Congrats to him. It was only a matter of time. I think that's a good fit. Obviously, he's in the state of Oklahoma. Certainly, Tulsa and Oklahoma will get a lot more attention now when those two teams play. I expect Tulsa to be a really good offensive team. Good move. Adds to the American Conference, which I would argue from a mid-major standpoint has the most star-studded head coaches of all the mid-major league conferences.
And they just added to that roster with DJ Gasso's hire.
Yeah, no question about that. So we'll leave it as that. Sorry, Texas fans. I know I don't know why you're angry at us. You should be thanking us for not picking you. Like, that's how this works. Because it is what it is. Vic, your last thought.
The champs remain the champs, and in this era of NIL and the transfer portal and players chasing after the big names, the big bags, Tegan Gavon and Texas once again proved to be the champ, you got to knock them out.
I have a question. They brought up the fact that Andrew Haynes basically ended the careers of Jordy Fromm, Harlan Pickens, and Nigel Kennedy. Does that make sense?
They are the Gunther of college softball.
Hopefully with a better reaction and a better push moving forward than Gunther's gotten since. It hasn't
that part.
Nonetheless. All right, that's a wrestling insider for the night. That's enough. For Victor Anderson, I'm Eric Lopez. Keep it on In the Circle SB for all the latest. We'll talk to you Monday, back on the regular podcast schedule there on Monday. We'll have, again, Alyssa Lang, who's literally on the air right now as I'm watching her at 11:57 Eastern, 10:57 in OKC. Her night is just beginning while ours is ending. One's a good hard worker, and then the other is just us. As well as our crew at D1 Softball. They're working hard there. Check them out there as well. For Victor Anderson, I'm going to let you close the show, Vic, because you did a heck of a job hosting. I'm just lonely Eric Lopez saying so long. Sorry, Texas, for picking against you, but maybe shouldn't be sorry because it worked out for you. Welcome, Hordes.
Top podcast is out. Good night, Canada. And still your national champion.